device is not connected from Sir Jackson. Oh, there we are. All right. You are on mute, good sir. Here we go. All right.
You want me to monitor the YouTube? Or actually, no, I should probably monitor the Discord for people coming in mid-stream.
Yeah. Realistically.
Okay.
We'll figure out a better way to format this in the future, realistically, in terms of getting more people in it. But yeah, I guess we can realistically just kind of get into it.
Cool, let's do it.
There should be a recording for this. So,
I'll double check the YouTube.
also, is the mic connected to your mic or is it connected to?
Good question. It might not be. Let's start.
Check that real quick.
There we go. How about
That sounds a lot better. All right, we'll get into it here then. We got those people. So the live fantasy help. All right, so team one. Let's look at this. So Lamar, Saquon, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams.
And the format details should be in the notes.
Okay. Let's see here. 10-man league. All right, good to know. Let's see here. Sam Laporta, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bills defense, Chase. All right. Let's see here. Ford, Hunter, Spawn, Cup, Love, Reed, Warren, Javonte Williams. Okay. So I'm not a big Aaron Jones guy. Not so much that I don't believe in him, just because it's very live to be a committee-based backfield. So that's not the sexiest thing in the world to me. Jerome Ford isn't terrible for week one, but it seems like Dylan Sampson might be alive to start over him, so I'm a little bit more cautious there. Love the Travis Hunter pick, like the A.J. Brown pick. Realistically, like the Devontae Adams pick. Sam Laporta, I think, is fine, but he's not somebody that I would be flag planning this season. Jaden Reed's fine for upside, but consistency, I have concerns. Javonte's a nothing burger to me. I think Jaylen Warren's a good pick. Let's see. So, what adjustments in theory would I make here? I would consider trying to package Aaron Jones with Jerome Ford with a looming kind of whatchamacallit and see what you could upgrade for.
Pretty strong bench for 2-for-1 packaging.
Yeah. So that's kind of really the only real adjustment I make. I mean, Laporta is not my favorite play in the world, but I'm not really sure what you could be packaging together to get off of Laporta. Maybe Javonte Williams with Laporta, but I don't think anyone's super excited to get Javonte Williams in fantasy football. All right, on to this next one. Lamar Jackson, Ashton Jeanty, Chuba Hubbard, Malik Neighbors, DJ Moore, Evan Ingram, Kenneth Walker, Broncos defense, Cameron Dicker, T-Mac, George Pickens, Caleb Johnson, Matthew Golden, Brock Purdy, Dalton Kincaid, or Ramondre Stevenson. Okay, now let's look at the settings. So 10-man PPR, good to know. Okay, so Lamar's great, Jeanty's fine. Chuba, I have concerns, but realistically, he's more than fine. DJ Moore is a guy that I have a very hard time properly ranking because it's he's going to get some running back type of usage, which makes him almost like Deebo Samuel-esque to a degree, and a bit more intriguing for fantasy. So I have a very hard time on how to properly rank him. I would honestly start T-Mac over him as long as T-Mac is a full go, just because of the usage he is very live to get. Now, I do think something you could do, which could be worth your while, would be pairing DJ Moore and George Pickens, considering how thin this league is, and tiering up another degree for an elite receiver or running back of your choosing. I think you could easily get a first-round caliber player in that range. Chuba Hubbard's great. You could definitely include him as a trade asset if you really want. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be great for fantasy this year. But realistically, you're able to fill out your flex in a very consistent way with some really good upside. I would not be surprised if all three of these running backs finish top 10. Only reason I have concerns with Chuba Hubbard is because of Dave Canales' fantasies about Rico Dowdle. Caleb Johnson could become a thing as the season progresses. Matthew Golden's a very fun upside kind of play, kind of Christian Watson-esque in some senses. Evan Ingram with a much thinner receiving room, I like a lot. Overall, really strong team. That's the theoretical adjustments I would make, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have a question. Trade Hurts and Andrews for Burrow and McBride. I'd rather just take Hurts and Andrews. The floor and ceiling was pretty equivalent. McBride's better than Andrews, obviously, but like Hurts is mobile, which is just a much safer, consistent floor compared to what you get with Burrow. All right, on to the next one. Let's review the team first. So Dak, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Sedarian Lamb, Matt McConkey, Evan Ingram, Rashee Rice, T-Mac, May, Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Charbonnet, Braylon Allen. All right, check it here. 10-man PPR, you want to get a better backup running back. Got you. All right, so let's walk through that as well. So 2-man trade is what you're looking to do here, and it looks like you are the one who received J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason, or are you trying to trade away for Isaiah Pacheco and Keon Coleman? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think they're getting Dobbins and Mason.
Okay. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not ideal, in my opinion, as well.
Oh, wait, sorry. Other way. You're right.
All right. I prefer getting the Pacheco side of this deal. I think that's a lot more sexy. I really like Tony Pollard. Like, I think he's not like the sexiest play in the board, if you would look at it that way, but I think he's going to be playing in a very soft schedule, which means there's a very good chance that they could be in run positive game scripts. The offensive line is definitely taking a step forward with the offensive line legend of that of Bill Callahan. So, like, I'm very excited to kind of see what he's going to do with a Bell Cal-like workload. I think he's very good for consistency. I love how you paired Kenneth Walker with Zach Charbonnet, so you have both sides of that run game. Jonathan Taylor, I really have no real opinion about. Something I would consider is I think that it would be worth – like, I like that you stacked CD and Dak together, and I think that's wise. But, like, a lot of people really like Dak. Like, they really like Dak. So I would consider trading him. Just because, like, you don't need to have 2 quarterbacks on your roster, realistically, when you have a mobile one like Drake May. Ladd and CD are fine for your receivers. Like, your team's extremely strong. In theory, like, all you can technically do is tier up. But, like, it's how much of that do you really want to do ahead of the season? And you're kind of running thin on pieces to do that with that are worthwhile doing. So that's what I'd keep in mind there. All right, on to the next one. All right, so we have Kyler, Chase Brown, Omarion Hampton, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram, Kenneth Walker, sounds like a monster. Travis Etienne Jr., Jacoby Myers, George Pickens, Kyle Pitts. So the bench got a lot thinner then, but the strong, like, this is a very strong start. Let's look at the settings here. 9-man league at 102, pick improvements. All right, let's walk through it. So Kyler Murray, Chase Brown, Omarion Hampton, very strong start. I'm a bit more skeptical about Omarion Hampton being more of a face value than a like actual massive value for fantasy. I know there's a lot of smart minds in on him, but I have some reservations just because of the potential usage splits. But like, I mean, this is just a really strong team. It's kind of hard to poke holes in a 9-man league. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would be moving off like. Etienne could gain value because it all depends on like where he lands in a trade potentially. Jacoby Myers, kind of same deal there right now. George Pickens is definitely somebody you could theoretically tier off of if you wanted to, but like he's somebody who should be ascending in value this year. Kyle Pitts is not my personal cup of tea. Like maybe like see if you can compare like Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram together for like George Kittle or like McBride or something. Like that's something I would consider. Like, I think if you could tier up off of Hampton in some way to like one of the true elites, that's something that I think would be worthwhile. Like maybe packaging like Hampton with the most I would be willing to do is Pickens, but like I don't think you should really even do that. I think you probably get away with Etienne. You're a little lower on Hampton than most people. You think Dobbins and Edwards both split a good amount, even though people are saying the OC's like the bell cow approach. I mean, everything I've seen about Greg Roman has been he's a committee-based approach. I'm not sold that like we should be super excited about Hampton because everyone's like, oh, receiving usage, but like Greg Roman has not been known to target his running backs. So we will see how it plays out. But overall, I like the squad. Just kind of hard to poke holes in a 9-man league. All right, let's see here. Kyler Murray, Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, TJ Hawkinson, Rashee Rice. Let's look at the bench. Goldman, Keenan Allen, Zach Charbonnet, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, Henry, Xavier Legette. I mean, guys like Xavier Legette just aren't really going to be fantasy relevant for your redraft leagues. They're fine in best ball just because it's like he can spike. But like that's kind of what you are looking for on a consistent basis is like, oh, he's going to catch a long touchdown. Like that's how Legette gets there consistently.
Probably also wouldn't be rostering both Hunter Henry and Bryce Young down there too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Hunter Henry one just because, like, I think he's got like he's fine for like consistency, but like you're saying, you're already paying for T.J. Hawkinson. You don't really need to pay for two of the same bet. J.K. Dobbins is fine. Bryce Young, I agree, you really just don't need him. Travis Etienne is just not a guy I'm targeting in drafts. Keenan's fine. The only thing you could theoretically try to do here is like tier up off of Pollard, but like he's going to be a good kind of bell cow guy for the early part of the season. But that's really all you could theoretically do. Maybe like tier up off of Garrett Wilson, just because it's like there are technically better receivers you can be putting there, or someone to fit in your flex, because Rashee Rice will more than likely be outscoring Garrett Wilson this season by a good margin when he's on the field, of course. But yeah, that's kind of the main gist there. Let's make sure we look through the settings real quick. 12-man PPR got offered Kamara, Terry, and Goff for your CD and Bryce. I would not do that deal. I just don't see like CD is a lot more valuable. Like Terry's going to regress. Kamara potentially isn't going to get over 180 carries this season, and then Goff's a statue merchant. Not ideal. So, all right. With that said, we move to the next one. All right. We have Bo Nix, James Cook, Bijan Robinson, Mike Evans, Puka Nacua, Evan Ingram, Xavier Worthy, Nathan Chubb, J.K. Dobbins, T. Higgins, Juwan Jennings, Aaron Jones. You like your old running backs, don't you? So James Cook, I think he's fine. It's just like I think he's a prime candidate for regression where he just doesn't pay off the cost you likely spent. Bijan Robinson is great. Mike Evans, Hall of Famer. Puka Nacua, one of my favorite picks in fantasy this season. Evan Ingram, I think he's great point per dollar kind of value. Xavier Worthy, I think he's actually just very underrated. Like the thing that like I'm concerned about with Xavier Legette, you could technically apply to Xavier Worthy, but like he's playing with Mahomes with a much better offensive line this year. T. Higgins, you could argue you could start him over Worthy, to be fair. I would consider tearing up off of James Cook. Like Nick Chubb, I'm sorry, this is not going to be very live for very long. He's not going to survive.
I mean, Mixon keeps looking worse and worse, but yeah, Chubb is just a shell of his former self.
Yeah, I think they'll be on to Damian Pearson, Woody Marks soon enough. Like I just have a very hard time being on Chubb, and I think you can tier up from James Cook with a few of these options. I'd keep T. Higgins for yourself. Juwan Jennings, I would consider throwing you out there. Same with Aaron Jones. Check it out with Nick Chubb.
Odds this person's a Broncos fan, or you think that's random?
I think that's more. It could be a bit of both. It's just more so of like they're going to be a good team this year.
Yeah,
and it's not hard to just take a kind of few correlated bets and see how it pays out. I want more OJ Harvey though. All right.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Hey,
here you go.
There we go. Christian McCaffrey, OJ Harvey. This looks like a team I pretty much would draft. Yeah, I mean, really strong team here. I'm not a big Dante Thornton guy. I don't see him being super relevant for redraft. DJ Moore is such a weird play this year. We kind of went over him earlier. It just we really don't know what his usage is going to truly be like. Yeah, I think this is a very strong team. If you have Facial Tune available on your waivers, I would consider holding him. But yeah, very strong team. I'm not really a big Tyrone Tracy guy. More interested in what Scatterbo could potentially do, but I think it's a pretty strong team overall. Yeah, we'll see how many people are in this league. 10-man PPR. Damn. Should win your league is kind of my mental estimation of this. So we'll see if that proves right. All right. Joe Burrow, Josh Jacobs, Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jalen Waddle, Brock Bowers, Kenneth Walker. Jeez, 4-man league.
Wow. Yeah.
Grundle, 10-man, half PPR draft from the 102. You know your receivers are weak, but you have a bunch of guys followed you, including Burrow on the 6. Already looking to trade one of your QBs, McMillan and Hunter. I also submitted a claim for Woody Marks, and I'm dropping Kincaid. Okay, well, a lot of process there. I wouldn't say this team's weak in any sense of the word. This is like stacked.
Yeah.
I think
receivers are a little bit. I mean, it's there could be some questions there with like JSN slash Travis slash Tet being your wide receiver too, but it still could have a lot of upside.
I don't know. I just think this team wins the league. I don't think you have to really overthink it. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. Like, I'm not the biggest JSN guy. I think there's holes in Waddle's profile technically, but like overall, this receiving group should be able to get it done between the 5 pieces you have here, and then the running backs you have are all very, very strong picks as well. Like in theory, you could maybe like try to upgrade your quarterback to see if you can get Jaden Daniels or something like that, but like that's about it, man. Very, very strong team. All right, let's see here. Dak Prescott, Jahmyr Gibbs, Travion Henderson, Drake London, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brock Bowers. I mean, what are these 4-man leagues, man? Jesus. 10-team full PPR, 1 QB net, 4 point per passing TD. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, this is another super team. I would be very surprised if this team did not win its league. Like, you have all the plays that you would want in fantasy this year. I'd just be starting Drake May over Dak Prescott. Like, Gibbs and Henderson, monsters. Harvey, monster you can be putting in here. Jackson Smith and Big Jigba, Drake London. Like, Drake London, I feel a lot more confident in. Like, you have multiple outs for receiver as well in case, like, one of these busts. You have Brock Bowers who should break the tight end position. Yeah, congratulations. All right. Let's see here. So we have – does this person just want
This one might need – yeah, they might need explaining.
All right. Your keepers are Bijan and Brian Thomas Jr. First round looks like you'll get Bucky or Taylor. You're wondering who you should take on these 2 boards. I think this is what they'll look like. It's $100 buy-in drafts Friday. Would appreciate the response. Okay, so your keepers are Bijan and Brian Thomas Jr. First round looks like you'll get Bucky or Taylor. You're wondering who should you take. I'm a bigger Bucky guy just because, sorry to Jackson, but like that game in Week 17 against the Miami Dolphins, I just have a very hard time not believing Bucky doesn't go crazy there. Jonathan Taylor, I think he's great, but I'm more concerned for regression than progression. Let's see here. Trying to see who else you're looking for. My keeper recommendations would be Travion Henderson's probably going in the first 2 rounds next year, if not the first round. Like, he's already going in the top 3 rounds. So all depends on, like, getting him here essentially in the 5th round is going to net you a profit. Same thing with RJ Harvey would be kind of my assumption. So it's more of your kind of personal preference between the 2. If you want to know who I think has a better season between the 2, it's RJ Harvey because I think his situation is much better. But, like, that's about how you want to kind of play that one out. You can make a good case for Rashee Rice as well because, like, he's not dealing with a suspension next year. He'll probably be going in the 2nd, maybe even 1st round. So there's some really strong values that we can be targeting in this specific range for, like, a keeper-specific area. Trying to think who else could probably be like T. Higgins. George Pickens will probably be going into T. Higgins range next year, would be my assumption as well, if things play out right, which I'm not sold they will. Mike Tomlin's pretty good at fading receivers, but we'll see. Alrighty.
Cool. And guys, if you're watching this and you want to get your team reviewed now that we're nearing kind of the last couple teams we have on the slate so far, send me a DM in the Prediction Strike Army Discord. My username is @Jamario Moon. And no worries if we can't get you on this one. We'll get you on the next one that we do.
100%. All right, on to this. We have another statue of Mayfield, Hampton, Swift, Neighbors, Puka, JSN. All right, what do we have for Sutton? That's great. Zach Charbonnet, very fun handcuff. That's being kind of inflated right now. Woody Marks, that's good point per dollar value. Okay. So with this team, you don't really need Colston Loveland. Like, he's great for, like, fun and, like, good for leagues that you actually need a tight end, but you don't need a tight end in this league. So I would be focusing more towards receivers. And I would also be trying to tier up my running backs. Like, if somebody was willing to do it, like, I think you can get, like, RJ Harvey, potentially even, like, Travion Henderson plus in these leagues that aren't as ball-knowing, if you will. Like, Cortland Sutton, I think, is going to have more consistent value than JSN. As much as I love JSN and the talent, like, you can even make things against, like, Malik Neighbors, realistically, if you kind of wanted to get into that nitty-gritty, but that's entirely up to you. But, like, I would be considering trying to upgrade the consistency for the running back points for my home leagues because that's something that I want to rely on. DeAndre Swift, I think, is, like, a fine value, but, like, I don't know. Something just feels wrong about the play to me, and perhaps it's just poor process on my end. But let's see how deep the league is as well. 12-man PPR 6-point passing touchdowns. Okay, so that's why you went Baker. That makes a little bit more sense. Anyone else that I think? I'm trying to think. Like I would try to tier to Mahomes. Like
Yeah.
I think getting to Mahomes this year is a really good idea. Stafford for a really cheap cost also would be pretty good because he's going to have Puka and Devonta Adams this year. So the games he's healthy, he should be worth a good deal. I don't know. I think you can kind of. It's more about if you want to, how you want to build this team yourself. I'm just not sold that like the running back room is going to be as sexy as you want it to be. It's kind of my 2 cents on this one. But outside of that, like your receivers realistically are insane. So take that for what you want. All right, on to the next one. Jaden Daniels, RJ Harvey, Kenneth Walker, Drake London, Puka Nacua, Mark Andrews, Scary Terry. All right, Tootin's on the bench. That's fun. Jordan Mason, Josh Downs, very talented. Tony Pollard's chilling in the flex spot. Love this. Very, 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 very strong team. Trying to think what we could potentially do to make it better. Yeah, not much we can really do to make it better unless the person wants to take a 2-for-1 on tight ends, which I just doubt many people want to do. Terry McLaurin, some people I think are going to inflate his value. The fact that he didn't play in preseason for trying to think of how many weeks, like he just hasn't played preseason, and we haven't seen great historical rates of players that have missed a lot of preseason. So I would be considering to tier off of him and try to see if you can get a stronger running back. Considering where he goes in drafts and the fact that this looks like it was done on ESPN, I would consider seeing if you can trade Terry McLaurin for Travion Henderson. I think that owner would potentially be willing to do it. It's going to provide you a much higher floor. It's going to provide you a really strong floor with a potentially crazy ceiling. And you're going to have a really strong team in that sense and more consistency. So I would consider that at minimum, but really like the team here should be able to go very far. And shout out to the Bill Truthers. All right, on to the next one. Justin Herbert, Jamar Chase, Scary Terry, Bucky Irving, Kenneth Walker, Brock Bowers. Let's see here in the bench. That's fun. Let's check the settings. All right. 10-man half PPR also was offered Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, and Ricky Pearsall for Chase. So you're wondering if that's worth doing or holding for potentially more. Nico Collins, you just can't do that ever. I'm not going to lie to you, Abu. You keep Nico Collins, you keep Rashee Rice, and you keep Ricky Pearsall. There was something very interesting that Matt Harmon was talking about in his show the other day, and he's like, the way that Kyle Shanahan is deploying Ricky Pearsall is very similar to Cooper Kupp. And I thought that was just such an interesting anecdote because if they are transitioning to that being more of like the focal point of how they want to run that offense, then he could be just an absolute smash for fantasy. So I would encourage you to, if you're asking to get that, never mind. So you're the one who has Chase here. I would want the Nico Collins side of this deal by a long shot. Like this side is so much more valuable. Like I love Chase, don't get me wrong. But like, I don't know. I mean, actually, it's kind of more of a question for this team, I guess, because it's like, do you really need it?
And it's a tight league.
I would consider that actually. Yeah, because of this thing. You're going to have Rashee Rice filling in here. And you can tier. I feel like you can take Chase out of the deal. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, because that's why Nico Collins. Because the thing is, like, Nico Collins with Chase plus Rashee Rice, like, this is just the side of the trade that's getting these three is just winning it, regardless. And the reality is you can, like, use these pieces to trade for other assets if you really want. Like, you can honestly flip Nico Collins straight up for Puka Nacua. That actually might be the thing to do here. So what you could do is you take this, you get Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, and Ricky Pearsall. So you have three assets, and you already have a few dead assets on your bench as it is. Like, you don't need to be holding on to Tyjae Spears, who's going on to IR for the first 4 weeks. Austin Eckler's all in good fun, but, like, he's not going to be super fantasy relevant. And your running backs are pretty much already taken care of with Bucky Irving and Kenneth Walker. So now your slots are kind of filled up, and you can realistically tier back up. Or restructure this deal in a way to like keep Chase out of it. Like I just think there's a lot of ways to like turn this into a super team with kind of this offer that you're getting because what he's giving up is just way too much for Jamar Chase. As much as I love Jamar Chase, might even make a video about this one because it's just like I don't know. A lot of people are basically saying Nico Collins is just as good of a chance to be Jamar Chase this year, which I think is kind of interesting. And then you get Rashee Rice, who's clearly in that tier, and then Ricky Pearsall, fun bet. All right. So with that said, I probably would take that trade. I won't lie, and then I would consider like tiering around to see how I can upgrade this flex, and then
Who would you? Who are you dropping if you take that trade?
Tyjae Spears and Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
I'd get rid of those guys because then I'd have Ricky Pearsall here, and I would have Rashee Rice here, and then I can really put Rashee Rice here for DJ Moore. If I really wanted to, I could take like Ricky Pearsall and DJ Moore together, and I could tier them up to have another elite receiver or running back. Like there's just so many ways I feel like you can play with that much capital to just turn it into like a super team beyond super teams, because it's just as much as I love Jamar Chase, like is he really that much of a different bet than Nico Collins? No. So we will see how it plays out. All right, on to this one. Bo Nix, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Drake London. Okay, this is a 4-man league. Let's see here. 12-man keeper league, keep 5. Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Standard non-PPR 6-point passing touchdown, 1 per sack on quarterback. Huh? Not sure I fully follow the sack quarterback.
Defense?
Maybe it's
No.
maybe that might be it. That would make sense.
No.
I don't really have any insight on the defense one outside of I think the Cardinals might be a good bet. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean this is a super team. I don't have anything negative to say about this team. Like you have 3 receivers currently go inside the first round. You have a running back, 2 running backs that are basically there as well. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. This is a super team. No, like if your QA takes a sack, they lose 1 point. I mean, isn't that just kind of like normal fantasy procedure in general? Because you're taking a sack, you're losing yards. It's just not, I guess, that much on average. I don't know. I feel like Michael Penix would be pretty good for that. But I don't know. This is a super team. You're winning the league. I don't know what else to tell you. Congratulations.
Crazy good.
Like if you really want, you can technically like tier up off Dalton Kincaid and try to find a way to Brock Bowers. I'm sure there's a way to do that with this team. But yeah, with that said, appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us. We'll be doing this more often. Going to talk with Jackson offline on how to get this properly scheduled so we can give you guys this more consistent basis and we can keep this going. So
Absolutely.
Subscribe if you haven't already. Download the Prediction Strike app, and of course, use your daily pick'ems or invest in players that you think are going to be great this season. Ollie Gordon, Travis Hunter, those seem like some pretty fun investments this year to me. So until next time, appreciate you all. Talk to you later. And yeah, peace, y'all.